Let's take it back in time. How did this all begin? Gizmodo reported May 9th, 2016.
Far-right Gizmodo.
Far-right Gizmodo. Former Facebook workers. We routinely suppressed conservative news. And when I said, wow, look at this report from what is NewsGuard certified, real news, I get accused of echoing false claims from conservatives that they routinely face suppression and censorship. And then every time that comes up, I'm like, oh, I've never asserted that as a fact. I've only cited Gizmodo. Now, of course, it's a fact. We have ample evidence it's happening. But the crazy thing is, when the news broke, it was Gizmodo that was telling conservatives they were being suppressed. All of a sudden, now the narrative shifts. I mean, look at their image. It's an elephant with a sheet over it. Gizmodo, of all outlets. We know it's happening. I think Vijay Gadde may have been crying at her Twitter meeting because they were doing something unethical, amoral, or potentially illegal, and they're about to get caught. I think that Monday night when Twitter learned that, so this is what this makes more sense. A lot of people are saying progressives are leaving, conservatives are joining. It is true to a certain degree that many conservatives are tweeting like, look, I just signed up. Sure. You know what makes more sense? When the Twitter staff had that all hands on meeting later in the day and the CEO said, it's happening. Let me answer your questions. After that meeting, which is now 5 p.m., it's probably 6, 7 p.m. Eastern, someone there said, clean it up, man. You got to get rid of all that code. He's going to come in. He's going to see this. We are going to jail, dude. And then pulled the code out. And that night, boom, Josie gets reinstated. All of these learn to code people start getting reinstated. I think they were running an algorithmic ban on right-leaning users for saying things like learn to code. I bet there was a list of phrases that were
that wasn't the only
obvious and overtly right-leaning.
I bet you Hunter Biden's in there. Or
Yep.
the Hunter Biden, the phrase
laptop
Hunter Biden.
story?
And I think we all know the pharmaceutical industry. There's many pharmaceutical interests and topics that were controlled.
Sharyl, does the pharmaceutical industry have influence on the media? What are you saying? What, guys? Who is this? Get her off.
And that deviates from the
Crazy.
left-right pattern, but I think that's another big one that's at play.
Jack, that's completely not true. Let me just quickly say, this episode is brought to you by Pfizer. You see that meme where like every morning news show is brought to you? We're not really
It's
brought
true,
to you by
though.
Pfizer. I have to clarify that was a joke.
No, we're
kidding.
Not actually brought to you by Pfizer.
We're just kidding. Also, Sharyl can beat. Pretty sure she can beat us all up.
What bothers me is that there's no way to. Well, at this stage, there's no way to know if there's nefarious stuff going on in the Twitter code. I wish that we could watch that happen. It's another value of having the software be free.
Keep in mind,
if they went ahead and changed stuff really fast, is it too late now? Did they make changes that even if someone were to go in and try to see, is it too late?
Look, I said this yesterday on War Room, and I'll say it here again. Elon Musk didn't just buy a platform. Elon Musk bought evidence. He's got all of this. And I guarantee you that he knows people that he can bring in that when they actually peel back the curtain, look under the hood of this thing, they can go back as far as they have to go because he will bring in the highest caliber people. Because you see all the stories, by the way, in Business Insider, they say, oh, he's so demanding and he's always firing people. No, because he wants the best.
Well, can I say something? If he's really smart, and I think he's really smart, these transactions, as you know, they're gone over by attorneys and analysts. Some attorney from Elon Musk's group sent some attorneys over at Twitter a note that said, don't touch things.
Preserve your records,
evidence
Twitter.
and records.
Preserve your records.
But watch out for Twitter going down mysteriously, which of course happens. Watch for any kind of server migration. So right now, if they manipulate code, I believe it's theoretically possible to see that they've done changes, to look at edits. But correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, if they migrate the servers fresh, copy only the existing code, all the records are going to be lost.
I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. I don't know.
So
can I just go back real quick onto the Ministry of Truth, by the way, because I've just got.
Well, I want to bring the story up right now.
Okay, because so there's an update, and oh my goodness.
Let me pull up this story first, and we'll throw it to Jack. We have this from Timcast.com. Department of Homeland Security forms Disinformation Governance Board. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said the board would work to prevent disinformation campaigns that target minority groups. They lost Twitter, and this quickly. They are already trying to play dirty games. We have it over at the Daily Mail where they mention it is being Biden sets up Disinformation Governance Board. And it is being headed by a Russia expert who called the Hunter laptop story a Trump campaign product and said she shudders to think about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. Well, here's our Ministry of Truth. Jack, what's going on?
Well, Tim, see, here's the thing, is that Nina Jankowicz of the Moaning Myrtles has responded. So she's responded to some of this criticism. She notes, "For those who believe this tweet is key to all my views, it is simply a direct quote from both candidates. For you see, this was during the final presidential campaign. And if you look at my timeline, you will see I was live tweeting. She was just live tweeting. She was just live tweeting the debate. Except here's the problem. In the immediate follow-up tweet to this, she wrote, the emails didn't need to be altered to be part of an influence campaign. Voters deserve the context," again, the key word context, "not a fairy tale about a laptop repair shop." She called it an influence campaign in the very next tweet. So we caught her in day one on the job lying about what she said about the Hunter Biden laptop, trying to cover it up. But I'm sorry, Nina, we got the receipts.
Can I say that I find it a little odd that we've all bought into arguing over sort of the minutia of how this is done, instead of stepping back and looking at 2015 and the notion that anybody should control for any reason. So we're arguing, should they control a certain hashtag? Does it really attack people? Wasn't attacked? Why are they controlling a hashtag in the first place? Before 2015, there was relatively little, if any, discussion over bringing in third parties, a corporation, no less, to control the content that we can access and make our own decisions on the internet. The social media companies had already invented tools where we could control our own experience. If you don't want to see something, if you want someone to call your experience, you can follow the right people, you can block other people. The notion that someone else should be doing that for us was introduced to us in about 2016, and we've kind of bought into it. We've argued over the terms. We've kind of bought into that there are reasons why this should be done, and there are people who could maybe do it better, instead of stepping back, in my view, and saying only that which is illegal should be moderated by anybody, in my view.
Well, that's where we've been, right? So we had,
yes,
we had
obviously.
Torba from Gab
Right.
on the show who said, here's my rules, and he pulls out the Constitution. And I'm like, agreed.
Well, that's kind of what Elon's saying now, that his notion, and this by the way, this is why these two stories are connected, because Elon said that his view, and he said this in that TED talk he gave last week, it was actually an interview, I guess, that his notion should be that it should be up to the laws of the state in which Twitter is operating, because those laws are reflective of the will of the people, I guess, if you're in a democracy, right? That being said, the very same way, the ink isn't even dry on the paperwork for Twitter, and already the Biden administration is launching a Ministry of Truth.
They know they've lost this one. And they had such power in the private sector because their sycophants were just like, but it's a private company. Now that they've lost it because someone had the money to buy it, now it's going government. This will be interesting.
Well, this goes to...
You'll need money to combat this in the courts. It'll be difficult.
Does anybody read, or are they required to read anymore? I'm a little older than you guys. But 1984.
Of course, yeah.
And Animal Farm in school. My kid wasn't. I mean, we read it at home.
Well, I don't think
Not
I was
at
required
school,
to, no.
This was required reading when I was growing up.
Wow.
And when you say Ministry of Truth, and I get it, and a lot of people get it, I think a lot of people, when I've mentioned these things about 1984 and how language is used to mean the exact opposite of what it really is by the government, all the things that are happening that are such perfect parallels to what were written about decades ago, so many people seem unaware of. And I feel like if people had been opened up to this, they could see it happening and witness it with some knowledge that they're not able to in many instances now.
Right, and the main character, for those who haven't read it, the main character of 1984 works for the Ministry of Truth.
Right.
That's his job, is to go back in time and censor things that are no longer in line with the party narrative.
The Ministry of Peace is all about war. The Ministry of Love is all about hatred or whatever.
They call it double speak.
Double speak, yeah.
So we normally save super chats for the end, but typically sometimes we get a good one. We do have a good one here from Christopher, who said they're purging their code, but they're bringing back followers to make their earnings report look good so Elon can't buy. Now, I don't know if that's true that he wouldn't be able to buy if the earning report looks good, but this will affect the earnings report if Twitter comes out and says, we had a massive increase of users. Look at all this. I think Elon Musk cornered Twitter. He came to them knowing their earnings report was going to be bad and the stock would fall. And so they had no choice but to accept the premium because he made the offer only a couple of weeks before they had to do their earnings report. If they did not accept the $54.20, earnings report comes out, stock drops to 30, the board can be sued for that massive loss by the shareholders who would be outraged. So he wins this one. They can't break the deal now. If they do, they lose $1 billion. But it is interesting because whatever Twitter is doing right now, removing these bans, will make their growth look better.
To someone that's not paying attention.
Right.
The people that are like, well, I was unbanned.
Except the report will say in Q1, we saw an influx of 3.4 million users. They won't say it was the last day that they unbanned everybody.
Yeah, they're not going to talk about how
they got to be careful with fraud. If they're going to try and fraud,
it's not fraud.
It's not. No, it's
defraud
not.
their investors by telling them that a bunch of accounts that they had anyway that they were considering unbanning before, they just chose to do it to make some extra money. They're going to go to prison.
That's why they're running around to everyone in the media saying, "Oh, no, this is organic."
Yep.
Of course, that's why they're making sure to give statements every single day to everyone who
they
asks them.
Chelsea getting unbanned is not organic. That was someone did that.
And they, in my opinion, lied to Congress. When they were like, there's nothing in place for censoring these people or politics. It's like, bro, your rules outright say misgendering will get you banned. But it's an inversion of how conservatives see what misgendering is. Their rules are overtly targeting conservatives, and they are lying to Congress about it, and they're not getting in trouble.
I'm looking at the top 10 owners of Twitter. It's Vanguard, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, SSGA Funds Management, Aristotle Capital Management, Fidelity Management, ClearBridge Investments. It's 10 investment firms.
Do you know what SSGA is?
No.
Google it.
SSGA Funds Management, Inc.
Yeah. You're gonna love this.
Wow.
Yeah, look it up. What does the SSGA stand for?
State Street, isn't it?
State Street Global
State
Advisors.
Street Global. So State Street's number 4.
Yep.
So they don't care about lying to Congress. They're going to send Jack Dorsey up there, tell him to lie to Congress, and then he's going to be the one that's on the hook.
But here's
if something goes wrong.
But listen, what happens is they give themselves plausible deniability. They go to Jack and say, "Hey, Jack, here's the report on everything we're doing." And he goes, "Okay." Then he goes to Congress and they're like, "Are you doing this?" "We are not doing that." Based on a report he read that was a lie to him. And then he says, "Well, they lied to me. I didn't know. I told the truth." And the person who lied to me wasn't under oth. That's the game.
That's a tough one. How do you navigate that kind of situation?
Are they claiming
really high-paid lawyers?
Yep.
That's how you navigate.
Are they claiming net gains of users? Because there are also people claiming they're fleeing Twitter, but are they saying that overall they're gaining way more than they're supposedly losing?
That's the strategy. That's what Tim's saying, is that the strategy is they can pick up and far surpass by removing the bans. So it's not even a political thing in this theory. It's just It's about the earnings report.
Katy Perry lost 200,000 followers. You're not going to convince me that a bunch of Katy Perry fans were like, "I am outraged that Elon Musk bought the platform."
They
but she also lost Russell Brand. More importantly,
Did
lost
Russell
Brand.
That's sad.
Oh, really?
I mean, if anyone's gonna
right.
annoyingly just leave out of emotion, it would be someone that follows Katie. No offense, Kate, but your fans are like
didn't
bubblegum.
Barack
people,
Obama lose hundreds of thousands?
Look, everybody knows
not
that
a
those
shock.
main accounts, and Dave Rubin had the tweet up today that the New York Times has 53 million followers and yet gets like 50 retweets per tweet. And Elon Musk even responded to that saying, "What's going on?" Actually, Rubin used to talk about this all the time. He called it the Rubin ratio, right? So the Rubin ratio is how many followers you have versus what is your engagement. Meanwhile, I can write something in a certain way, or drop receipts on someone like we just did with this government official Nita Jankowicz, catching her in a provable lie, in a demonstrable lie, and that's going to get tons of retweets. But a New York Times article with 53, 1% of that, right, should be enough to get
Didn't he say he could tweet a celebrity photo and a banana and it would get more tweets?
See, I wasn't going to bring that up, Cheryl.
And it did. He did, and it got
he did. It was
more
like an
tweets.
80s sitcom and a banana, and he got like 5,000 retweets on it.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and we'll see you all there.